Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video. We're going to talk about the new FCC chairman, Brandan Carr, and how this might be a huge shakeup for tech platforms like Google, YouTube, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft. This is going to be a really interesting couple of years. I don't know which way it's going to go for content creators, though. I'm going to be honest. I think that there's going to be a massive shakeup. There might actually be more laws, more rules put in place, which might actually, might boomerang, might hit some of us in the butt. I'm just saying. But we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about censorship. And there's been something very strange going on different social media platforms and online leading up to the election. And I'll talk about our own personal experiences here. I think that there absolutely positively is censorship going on. And I think it's a much deeper rabbit hole than most people realize. I mean, right now, I would say Google itself is censoring a lot of websites, maybe for political reasons, but mostly I think because they want to monetize consumers directly. And they're just cutting out the middleman. They're not sending people to websites. In fact, a lot of websites have had issues ever since, the HCU update. And I've seen websites that have been around for years, decades even, packing it in, saying, hey, we can't survive anymore. And we're going to talk about how this might affect YouTube and other video hosting platforms. And just anecdotally, I can say that there was definitely something going on leading up to the election with our channel and with our websites. And then right after the election, it's like a switch was flipped. And I think I've talked about this before, but I'll talk about it a little bit more in this video because it's definitely pertains to this. But before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, Geeky sitting this one out. She's doing some stuff with her family today. Check out clownfish-.com. Join the Reef, you get exclusive podcasts, and we got merchandise out there. We're trying to build off platform. If you guys have been following the Twitch drama, especially, it's like you really need to start looking at doing stuff outside of just depending on ad revenue from a particular social media platform because things are changing very, very quickly. We're also on Locals, clownfishtv.locals.com. Same content, mirrored on both places. You can only buy the merchandise on clownfish-.com, however, but anybody can buy stuff. You don't have to be a member. Definitely appreciate the support. This comes from Niche Gamer, which I think is actually one of the best video game websites out there. It's one of the few honest video game websites out there, even when they say things that people don't like, but they put this up today. They're talking about it, and we're going to talk about it. Trump's FCC chairman, Brandan Carr, comes after Section 230 over disinformation. So President-elect Donald Trump recently named Brandan Carr as his choice for FCC chairman. He's been vocal about the role the FCC will play in the upcoming administration. And in particular, he accused big tech of running a censorship cartel. I agree 100% with that. There are certain people or certain personalities or certain media outlets that are completely blacklisted, and they're always in lockstep, right? When they booted Alex Jones, they made sure that every platform deplatformed him. Same with Steven Crowder too. I guess they just made sure that YouTube deplatformed him. If Twitter had not been purchased by Elon Musk, I think we'd be looking at a very different outcome right now, but he exposed just how far down the rabbit hole the censorship goes. And it ties back to the government, the federal government actually putting pressure on a lot of these outlets to censor information, especially during the pandemic. We had misinformation campaigns, vaccines and election deniers and all that stuff. And they were definitely putting pressure on social media platforms. Now on individual websites, I can tell you that there was pressure being put on advertising agencies, on advertisers. We've actually, and people know this, we actually have several websites that we've run for a number of years, and some of them you know about, some of them you don't know about. It's neither here nor there, but I can tell you that about 2020, 2021, things started to get very, very weird. And our one ad network, and it was a pretty good advertising network, right? It was better than just using straight up Google ads because they would actually go fill your inventory directly. But they actually started working with an organization. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but they were auditing websites. They were going through and auditing websites for misinformation or wrongthink, and you get dinged if your site contained, XYZ or whatever. And it sucked because you had to walk on eggshells. Not that any of our sites were overly political, but I mean, it was very mild. Are you talking about firearms? Are you criticizing vaccines? Are you mentioning vaccines? Are you not, linking to the proper government vetted websites for official information on COVID? Are you mocking mask mandates? Stuff like that, little things like that. Do we consider anything on your website to be hate speech? Are you monitoring what your users are saying? This is part of the reason we took comments off of our websites, because they were even getting down to, very granular level and being like, if you've got some random user that comes on your website and takes a steaming dump in your comments section and you don't moderate that, you could be responsible, and we might pull your advertising off your website. So I erred on the side of caution. We did site redesigns, and I just pulled the comments section off completely. It wasn't cowardice on my part. It was like, well, I can't control what other people say, so I'm just not going to let them say anything, I guess, because we got to have the advertising to pay the bills, right? That's just kind of how it works. But apparently this is very widespread across the board. And he's talking about this organization called NewsGuard. And he wrote a formal letter to the heads of all the tech companies talking about it. He said in a formal letter to big tech CEOs at Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and Apple, Carr accused the companies of contributing to censorship via their fact-checking and labeling disinformation, in particular their use of NewsGuard. Now, NewsGuard, I don't think was the one that our advertising agencies were using or our advertising services were using, but it's the same basic thing where they would vet information, and if your website had anything they didn't like on it, they would complain and get your advertising pulled. And that's basically the end of your website. Now, Google's doing it on a larger scale right now, I think, with the HCU. And this is a huge update that they're basically shutting the traffic off to external sites to keep people on Google. And then they're giving them AI snippets. But I've seen sites that had massive traffic for years. This is the guy, I think, that runs retrododo.com. Or he got the information from RetroDodo. I think he runs it. SEO affiliate marketer. Okay. So anyway, he has the information for retrododo.com. He said, if a site like this can't bounce back from the 2023 HCU, it's hard to feel any hope for anyone else. You can see like the traffic was, doing really good. And then this is when Google had the update, and it's bouncing back a little bit, but not much. Right. And I've been comparing notes with other site owners, and this is pretty much across the board. They just decided they did not want to send traffic out to other sites. They're going to say it's to help the user experience. I think it's so they can further control the flow of traffic and the flow of information on the internet while also making record profits. But this might be coming to an end. So this is, again, Brandan Carr sending this out to Sundar Pichai from Google. Is it Satya Nadella from Microsoft, Mark Zuckerberg, and Tim Cook? And now, Tim Cook, at least, I know the day Trump got elected, he congratulated him. And I think they're starting to fall in line. Now, I wonder how much of this was self-imposed censorship and how much of it was, they were being pressured by government entities or, advertisers that clearly leaned more left. I don't know how far it goes. But yeah, so he's coming for them. He said, over the past few years, Americans have lived through an unprecedented surge in censorship. Your companies played significant roles in this improper conduct. Big tech companies silenced Americans for doing nothing more than exercising their First Amendment rights. They targeted core political, religious, and scientific speech. And they worked often in concert with so-called media monitors and others to defund, demonetize, and otherwise put out of business news outlets and organizations that dared to deviate from an approved narrative. 100%, I can confirm firsthand that this is going on. But again, none of our sites were that political, but I can confirm that they were policing individual websites. So you think that it's limited to these social media platforms. You go build your own website and you're fine, you're insulated. No, you're not, because you're not going to get traffic if they don't like you. And you're not going to get advertising to keep the site online if they don't like you, if you don't play ball with them. So even if you build your own website, you're still beholden to whatever nebulous rules this cartel has. And they said it's this NewsGuard, they think, is one of the organizations behind it. They say congressional investigations, press reports, and other evidence show that in many cases you did not act alone. Rather, you participated in a censorship cartel that included not only technology and social media companies, but advertising, marketing, and so-called fact-checking organizations, as well as the Biden-Harris administration itself. Mark Zuckerberg confirmed that. He said that he had pressure put on him by the government, by the Biden administration. The relevant conduct extended from removing or blocking social media posts to labeling whole websites or apps as untrustworthy or high risk in an apparent effort to suppress their information and viewpoints, including through efforts to delist them, lower their rankings, or harm their profitability. Yes, 100%. And I think it's still going on. I think it's just going on to a much larger extent right now. And I think part of the reason that Google is doing what they're doing, just my personal theory, is to be able to control the final product, I guess, the final presentation of information to the consumer. Just give them a snippet of information, and that's enough. They don't have to go out to these websites. And yes, part of it is about monetization, because they keep people on their search page and they can monetize them directly with search ads and AdSense and all that. But it's also to control the flow of traffic. Don't send them to the external website. Give them enough to answer their question, but don't send them to the website, because they might go down a rabbit hole of misinformation, and we can't have that. Make sure that we give them the result we think is vetted. He said the censorship cartel is an affront to Americans' constitutional freedoms and must be completely dismantled. Americans must be able to reclaim their right to free speech. Indeed, our democracy depends on freedom of expression. He said, I'm confident that once the ongoing transition is complete, the administration and Congress will take broad-ranging actions to restore the First Amendment rights the Constitution grants to all Americans. And those actions can include both a review of your company's activities, as well as efforts by third-party organizations or groups that have acted to curtail those rights. Again, I can tell you many of our websites were in a pretty sizable advertising network, and that network did bring in a third party in 2020 or 2021 to audit all the websites in the network. And they constantly would watch your sites. They actually had your violations on the page. Like you could see, oh, you talked about this on that page. Well, that page can't be monetized. Oh, you got three hits, 3 strikes. You might have to get booted from the network. If they noticed anything that was out of the ordinary that they didn't like, or what, they would threaten you with kicking you out of the ad network. So this 100% did happen. And I can tell you as a site owner, this happened. For now, I'm writing to obtain information from you that can inform the FCC's work to promote free speech and diversity of viewpoints. As you know, Big Tech's prized liability shield, Section 230, is codified in the Communications Act, which the FCC administrates. As relevant here, Section 230 only confers benefits on big tech companies when they operate, in the words of the statute, in good faith. It is in this context I'm writing to obtain information about your work with one specific organization, the Orwellian named NewsGuard, as exposed by the Twitter files. Again, Musk buying Twitter, it cannot be stated enough how important that is to turning the tide. It was the first domino that got knocked over, and all the other dominoes are falling down now. As exposed by the Twitter files, NewsGuard is a for-profit company that operates as part of the broader censorship cartel. Indeed, NewsGuard bills itself as the internet's arbiter of truth, or as its co-founder put it, a vaccine against misinformation. Oh, what a way to put it. NewsGuard reports to rate the credibility of news and information outlets and tells readers and advertisers which outlets they can trust. So yeah, it might have been, our ad network might have been working with them, but it was called something else. But they might have been working with them, because 2021 is when we started to see kind of a decline in organic traffic. We weren't ranking as high. We used to be, some of our sites used to always be on page 1. And then things started to drop off. And then I think Google just got to the point where they're like, well, screw it. We'll just give people the news directly and not even send them out to websites. We're just going to give them these AI snippets. We get to keep all the money. We don't have to deal with, NewsGuard, because we're and what win-win, right? And no, I think they're going to lose big time. Hugely. I think they're going to lose hugely. As the U.S. House Committee on Small Business 2024 staff report stated, these ratings combined with NewsGuard's vast partnerships in the advertising industry selects winners and losers in the news media space. NewsGuard does so by leveraging its partnerships with advertising agencies to censor targeted outlets. They're talking about NewsGuard works with web browsers, including Google, Chrome, Apple Safari, Microsoft Bing. NewsGuard is partnered with social media companies, and it offers products for AI systems and app stores. In other words, your products may use NewsGuard, or you may enable your customers to use NewsGuard. And it's not good faith. It's about censorship. So let me tell you a little story here outside of websites. And again, this for 100% is true. He's speaking the truth, because we've seen it happen in real time, and we've been running websites since. Some of these sites have been online since like 2007, 2008. So he's telling the truth. So on the YouTube side of things, and I've talked about this before, and this is why I keep pushing Clownfish minus, and especially clownfishtv.locals.com. In fact, just kind of on the down low, a little bit of a problem with the people running the minus website, and I have to wonder if it doesn't tie into this. But I believe we've gotten things sorted out. But clownfishtv.locals.com, I don't think we're going to have any issues over there. It's so weird, because we're very mild. I mean, we're not even that political. We're very mild. We're basically normies who got caught up in all this crap, because we do make our livings online. So, you're going to get caught up in this net. It's going to affect you. Even if you want to stay neutral, it's going to affect you, right? So I've been talking about this in videos. Our traffic on our YouTube channel, our organic traffic, dropped off a cliff. I mean, it flatlined. It didn't really drop off a cliff, but we weren't being recommended, I noticed, to new users, just our existing audience. And even that was hit or miss. We had a lot of people saying, hey, I'm not getting recommended your videos anymore. And this was very noticeable starting about 3 or 4 months ago. And that's when we were in the thick of it leading up to the election. And I really didn't think much of it. We actually have a person at YouTube, and she's great, by the way. I think she's fantastic. And I brought my concerns to her. I said, are we being false flagged or something? She's like, not that I'm aware of. Well, here's the thing. I think it might be something else going on a totally different level that doesn't have anything to do with the individual handlers or anything. I think it's somebody at YouTube flipped a switch, I think. And the traffic dropped on not just our channel, but I was comparing notes on other people's channels too. Now, I don't think it's our content necessarily, because again, we're very mild, but I think it might be our audience. I think it might be you guys. I think they're going to look at our audience and be like, oh, primarily American conservative leaning people that subscribe to probably like Fox News and stuff. Yeah, that's a problem. We can't have that. So we're going to dampen. I don't think they shadow banned us necessarily. I think we got deboosted, and a weird thing happened. Like if you would go, especially in the weeks leading up to the election, if you would search for Clownfish TV, you would get videos about Clownfish TV. Some of them from our haters, they would appear above our own videos, which I thought was very, very weird. I mean, we have over 500,000 subs. I thought that was very weird. So somebody pushed a button or flipped a switch somewhere. And again, it might not even be an official policy. It might have been like there are activists working at Google who are flipping out about the election. And they're like, we're going to just, shut down all the channels that conservatives watch for now. But then, like, as if by magic, the day of the election, all the traffic got turned back on. Like everything's back to where it was like 4 or 5 months ago. But I put this out on Twitter. I said, We're getting more independent confirmation that our YouTube channel was deboosted or shadow banned over the past few months leading up to the election. Traffic gets turned back on. As soon as it's over. I wonder how many channels got hit and if there's going to be repercussions. It's weird because we're not political. We're probably the mildest of the chud networks, but I think they go by audience overlap. Yellow Flash says they do it every election. We weren't that big in 2020, so we probably weren't that big of a threat. And it's just it was very weird to see this. I mean, we already had it happen on the website side, but then to have it happen on the YouTube side too, especially when we're like, well, we're not political. Why are we getting caught up in this? This is what I'm talking about. Like, even if you try to stay out of it, if you make a living online, all of these policies affect you. And some people look at Twitch. Look at what's happening with Twitch right now. Reportedly, advertisers are withholding their money from Twitch. And it's affecting everybody. Even non-political channels are getting hit in the wallet. And the same thing could happen to YouTube. And I don't know what's going to happen. But if he's in charge of the FCC, it might be that he reads them the riot act and he's like, hey, if anybody is getting shadow banned or whatever, you're going to get fined. You're going to get hauled in front of a Congress. You're going to whatever, regardless of what the motivation was. Like, you can't have that. And that was the difference with the old school internet is, yeah, you had people out there saying shitty things, but it was up to the individual user to decide if they had enough or not. Right. And now the government wants to nanny you and they want to push you in one direction. And I'm like, we're not going to do the UK everywhere. We're not doing bullshit. And I think what's going to happen is X and Rumble, can I say that? Can I say the R word? Because that was even banned. Apparently that was banned from here for a while too, because they're in a lawsuit with Google right now. But I think those platforms are going to blow up. If YouTube does not get shit together, if Google does not get shit together, the public will create alternatives. And at one point in time, Google was just another search engine. There were lots of search engines. Google was one of many. And we can go back to that. I actually would prefer to go back to that. But yeah, we've got all of the information being disseminated through a handful of tech companies, and they're all playing ball with organizations like NewsGuard. And before that, we had GARM and all these, you know what I'm saying? They all sound sinister too, don't they? Like, none of them sound like, hey, we're the happy fun time news police or some shit like that. It's all like, it just sounds so damn serious. Media Matters, that was another one. And I hope that if nothing else, even if we've only got Trump in office for 4 years and this guy in office for God knows how long, that at least this shit will stop for the immediate future. And I hope that we learn from it. And we don't do it again. Again, you don't have to agree with everything everybody says online. People can say really shitty stuff online. I think it needs to go on we need to go by individuals, person to person, post to post. If some individual is a problem, then, and they constantly violate terms of service, that's fine. But deboosting entire news outlets because you're afraid of them. And look how massively it backfired. If it was, and that's a huge if it was, in fact, the Democrats controlling the media and social media through these shadow organizations, it backfired so spectacularly because if people didn't know they were being censored, they probably just would have gone along for the ride. And a lot of people that voted for Trump probably wouldn't have voted for Trump, but they know that they're being censored and they push back against that. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Just Americans, it's in our DNA. We do not like being told what to do. We don't like being told what to do. Going back to the founding fathers, going back to the Boston Tea Party. We don't like being silenced. We don't like being told what to do. So every time you do that, you're going to make enemies of the American people. And that's what's going on right now. We'll see where it goes. I don't know. I mean, if there's more regulation of social media and search engines, it actually could bite a lot of us in the ass too. I mean, it could. I'm not gonna lie, but they gotta do something. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later. Join the reef. Go to clownfish-.com. That's clownfish-.com. You will get exclusive access to podcasts and videos and comic strips and more, as well as merch discounts. Check it out. If you were a member, you could get this t-shirt, this dismal t-shirt on our website. You'd get a 10% discount on that. You can also join in the community on clownfish-.com. Thank you so much for the support.